Okay, so for my top wings, I'll start with my festive little crystal. Working the colors together. Back into crystal. Coming back on, whoops, a chunk. Metallics are famous for those chunks. We like to keep alleys or marbles inside of our bottles so we can shake, and it shakes them up nicely because they do have a shelf life issue. So we like to keep them going as long as we can. So we just continue back and forth, picking up our colors, blending them together as we'd like. We want it to go from the dark to the light, back and forth. So the crystal being our dark, our festive being our bright. Back and forth. We're going to be doing some shading on these as well. We're going to add all kinds of things to them. And back and forth between these colors. So you're just going to kind of follow it as a picture map. You'll see the color blend as you go. I'll have photos of these as well that'll bring them up a little bit easier to see when they're in photos. And like I say, depending on how much I can see my base coat color through, I'll go back and forth with additional coats back on top. So I'm just kind of working these colors where I can see through my base coat back and forth. You want to have some sections that are definitely showing as brighter and then fading into the darker or deeper, whichever you want to call it. And we're back and forth with these colors. And I'll dry them up and touch up if I need to. Okay, so we want basically to have the same patches on the upper wings, on both upper wings, opposite each other, and the same thing on our both bottom wings. I'm brushing a coat of glaze medium mixed with black green over top of my metallic finished background. Then I'm going to take and I am going to apply, just lay across a sheet of plastic over top, and I'm going to scrunch. I guess it would help if I had that completely over top. And I'm going to scrunch this over my background and just kind of gather it up, getting nice ripples. I call this smooshing. So we do this, and this is going to apply our background, give it that rippled look. You'll never get it the same on both of them, or sets of the wings. I'm just using a piece of plastic from whatever, and I'm going to peel it back off, and it gives me that look to it. Then we'll dry it, and I'll go on to my other wings. I'm using my stained glass leading. This is in the gold. It comes in black as well, but we want the gold for this project. So you just have your lines traced, gently squeeze. I'm not really the best at getting my pressure. Once I get going, I can. So you see the bumpies that I get there. I'm not concerned. I'll show you how I take care of that. So I just gently, and I've got my tip on the board. If I'm working on some pieces, I like to hold it up off and let it kind of just drop its way down. But it's difficult sometimes to be able to do that in long areas that we've got. So I just run along like this, and I come along the outer edge. And just squirt it along. Whoop. So I've got my brush here. I don't know if you could even see that where I went right off. I should have just forgot about it. You wouldn't have known. So do you see that I can push that over with a damp brush? And that's what I do up here. I can take my damp brush and I can redirect my lines. I'm lifting off a little bit of it right here where I have that line. Do you see how I can clean up those edges? So don't worry about it being uneven, or that don't let that hinder you, that you might not be the clean line squirter. I'm not either. And I go back and I just kind of clean up those edges just with a damp brush. Works for me. And you see here, look at how bad this one is. Very wiggly and uneven pressure. But it cleans it up nicely. So I do a bit, go back and clean up so that I can get my cleanup happening while it's still fresh. I don't want it to get that skin forming on it, because then I'm not able to manipulate my lines around. So we want to be able to come in here and just use a damp, so I'm just using a number 2 liner or a number 2 round, anything like that. Even your 0 round, I've used that as well. So right now there I pushed a little bit of product out on there, so I'll just come back and clean that edge up. All right, so I'll continue on with this and get the rest of my piece leaded. With my leading, I can take and just be up off. So do you see how I'm just up from my line? And whoops, so much for that. I'll just fix that line. I just wanted to show you how you do it this way, and it didn't work. Okay, so I've got it up from the piece, and so you see that I'm squirting and I'm just letting the leading fall from my tip. And then I'll come back this way here. So you're leading it and dropping the leading as you go. So I haven't got the tip on my surface. and I just let the leading fall as I go. And I still will come back with my brush, my dampened brush, and clean up areas. That have, see how I have that higher bubble there? I'll clean that. That usually happens when you're starting on top of an area that you've, and then I'll come back here and smooth that into there. So you have the options. You can have your piece laying on the surface. So here's back. I'm not sure if you're able to see that. Yeah, you are. Okay, so I can do it. That's the with my tip on the surface. See that I get a little bit more of a wiggled line. Look, I'm just lifting it there. So you can choose, but practice on a piece of your palette paper. Draw a few lines to follow and see what is more comfortable for yourself. Whether you'd rather have it drop. You get a smoother line when it's dropping than if you've got your piece, your tip right on the board. All right. Now I've applied my crackle medium over top of my gold. I've let it dry. Now it can be slightly tacky too. I like to use a fan brush because it's like I can shovel the paint on. So I pick it up and I come in with generous amounts of paint. I can tell I'm kind of running low on paint. I always like to go different directions when I'm putting it on. It's like my slip slap, because then my cracks will appear in different directions. I don't want just long cracks. So again, I'll just slide this down here, pick up my paint. You try not to back paint over top of areas you've already been, because what's happening is it's starting to crackle immediately underneath. And if I paint back now over top of there, I'm filling in those cracks that are happening under the paint. So you want to put generous paint. The thicker the paint on top, the thicker the cracks are going to be. I'm going to paint the sides of my board in this Hauser Dark as well. So while I'm going along, I'm just painting that because I had tried gold and decided no. So I've got that. It's going to begin crackling. So I'll just pull it down here. Do you see here? Now it has already started to crackle. So this cracking is happening, and see how lovely they are. Now if I want it to speed up my cracking, I can hit it with the blow dryer. And I like to use the blow dryer opposed to, so I'll show you, and it's going to be noisy, sorry about that. So you see how that speeds up the crackling, but it spreads them faster and quicker. So you get bigger cracks when you're using the blow dryer. Alrighty, so I'm going to continue and finish my body.